So to the Monday night match then at Old Trafford, Manchester United at home to Southampton. I didn't catch the team news, but once they got started, I actually watched all of this game. And once we got started, United were basically at full strength, and Southampton's side looked as it normally is. First moments pretty enterprising. But Southampton certainly had a good defensive shape. 6 minutes, Bertram crossed from the byline, but De Gea was solid, and Southampton a very high press, it had to be said, and United struggling really to get out of their own half. But on 9 minutes of defensive lapse by Ward-Prowse, and Martial nipped away, but the keeper McCarthy blocked his shot. 10 minutes, a minute later, a smart shot from Armstrong on the edge of the box, but the keeper was good enough. And then on a minute later, Pogba was caught in possession as he was moving out towards the halfway line, and the ball was picked up and moved out to the left. Redmond managed to get his cross right to the back post in the penalty box, and Armstrong running in hit a nice effort, a cool finish, too good for De Gea, and the Saints were one up. Another attack a minute later led to a frantic clearance from Lindelof. But then 15 minutes, Rashford was in on an opportunity, and he finished it with aplomb, but he was ruled offside. 19 minutes. The equaliser, a Pogba cross, nice control by Martial, a layoff to Rashford, his clinical finish, and we were level 1-1. And only 3 minutes later, another nice bit of work between Pogba and Fernandes set up Martial, who hit a brilliant shot coming in from the left, a bit similar to the one he did a week or so back. 22 minutes then, United had gone 2-1 up. 5 minutes later, McCarthy had to be alert again to push away a great strike by Pogba. But that was about it in the first half. United edging it, just deserved that lead, although Southampton had been extremely good on the eye. So half-time 2-1, into the second half. Redmond got his shot away, but it was just wide on 48. And 3 minutes later, Rashford put through after the ball break to him, and fed by Greenwood. But unfortunately, it was forced for a corner. 4 minutes later, a snap shot from distance by Rashford, and it sort of grazed the post. I did note that Husenthaler on the sideline was becoming very animated. 62 minutes. Again, some good work by Southampton. Final cross from Walker-Peters, though couldn't find a colleague. 67. This was a good opportunity for United to get their third. Rashford missing from a couple of yards after Martial had fed him from the byline. In fact, on replay, it became clear that the defender had got a leg in to block the effort. So that was a superb piece of defending. Fred came on for Pogba, and Long replaced Adams, and we were moving into the last quarter now. And nice work on the left from Shaw and Rashford on 71 minutes, but it came to nothing. And Southampton continuing to be good on the break, and Smallburn got a crossing that was put out for a corner. 6 minutes later, Martial again got away from the defence, and a great run, but his final finish was wild. And 85 minutes, Redmond again charging into the box, got his shot away, but De Gea managed to get his hands to it. But Southampton were building some pressure, and they were always a threat. United had to go down to 10 men briefly following a head clash. It was just the final minutes and we were into added time. And then a corner for Southampton. It was 96 minutes. It whistled across the 6-yard box and nobody got a touch until it arrived at Obafemi, who'd also come on. And he clipped the ball home from that Ward-Prowse corner, and miraculously they levelled the match, and that's how it finished. Final score then, a really good match to watch, was Manchester United 2, Southampton 2. Tuesday's match was at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea at home to Norwich. Chelsea still in charge in third, a point ahead of Leicester and United for those Champions League positions, and in view of the fact that Manchester City's ban has been overturned, there is not going to be a place for the 5th place finisher. The only way in, if you're not in the top 4, is if you win the Europa League, which of course there's still an opportunity for Manchester United and Wolves to do that. But anyway, back to Stamford Bridge. Abraham Mount and Barkley were on the bench. Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic and Giroud starting. For Norwich, nothing particularly. Buendia was on the bench with and Dermich and Rupp started for Norwich. 19 minutes, Giroud got his shot away, but it was a tame effort. 10 minutes later, Giroud, in fact this highlights show is really all about Giroud, again got into a dangerous area, but it's poor contact again, and it spilled his effort wide. And then on 35 minutes, Pulisic got a left foot shot away, which did force Krul to push it over the bar. And finally, we got a breakthrough on 47 minutes. Pulisic again looking a classy act. His cross found Giroud, and his diving header was too strong and whistled past Krul for 1-0. And that was the score at the break. The second half, mostly Chelsea really, not a particularly exciting second half, although Giroud did have another chance on 52 minutes from a Willian set piece, but again he headed wide, and he then fed Pulisic on 74, but his volley was handled by Krul. That was about it. Not a particularly good performance from Chelsea, but they did what they had to do. Full time at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea 1, Norwich 0. So to Wednesday's fixtures, 4 of them, and let's get stuck into the first. Newcastle at home to Spurs. They had Joe Linton on the bench. Atsu reappeared on the bench, hadn't seen him for some time. Gale and Bentaleb selected. Danny Rose couldn't play. He's, of course, a Spurs player on loan, so he can't play against his parent club. So Yedlin was in for him. For Spurs, Sanchez keeping Vertonghen out. Otherwise, the team looked very much as it was against Arsenal. Early action, 5 minutes, Almiron strike deflected wide, and then on 16 minutes, a great cross from Ritchie, but Shelby's header, unfortunately, much too high. And then first real purposeful attack from Spurs, after a dreadful blunder by Newcastle just outside their own box on the right, and Mora got to grips with it. Involved Kane, I believe, but finally laid it off to Son on the left side of the box, and as he often does, he moved onto his right foot and hit a beauty just inside the corner of Dubravka's post, and that was 1-0 to Spurs. 3 minutes later, another 30-yard effort by Son, which this time got a slight defection, and Dubravka, though, managed to tip it over. 39 minutes, St Maximus wriggling in from the left touchline, and he moved it to the edge of the box, and his effort was a fraction wide. And a couple of minutes later, Gale, great header from across, but it's just flicked the post. So at the break, 1-0 to Spurs. Second half, an interest early on, this was within the first 10 minutes, menacing run into the box by Lozaro. He got tackled, but the ricochet fell to Ritchie, who was coming in on the left side, and he hit a tremendous effort. This was on a 56 minute that just absolutely whistled past Lloris into his top left-hand corner, and so the Magpies had levelled at 1-1. A few minutes later, though, they were behind again. Bergwijn, who'd come on, hit a lovely deep cross from the right, and Kane escaped his marker, and he headed in the corner for 2-1. Lot of bluster from Newcastle after that, but nothing too substantial. And then a minute from time, a slick counter-attack, a Lamela put through, and his shot was on target after some nice feet shimmying one way and the other. Dubravka did get his hands to it, but it came out to Kane, who was following up, and his diving header sealed the third goal for Spurs. And that was about it. Final score then at St James's Park: Newcastle 1, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Right, so to the Etihad then, Manchester City at home to Bournemouth. Now for City, Stones was back, Laporta on the bench, usual rotation by Guardiola. Gundogan and Foden and the two Silvers selected, Mahrez, De Bruyne and Sterling on the bench. Oh, and Fernandinho was back after his suspension. For Bournemouth, Cook came in for the injured Ake, and Solanke retained up front, giving Callum Wilson a rest on the bench. 5 minutes in, a free kick on the edge of the box on the right, and David Silva, absolutely superb, curved it round the wall, and it hit the top corner, and City were 1 up. 7 minutes, Fernandinho hit an effort from distance that was just inches wide. Ramsdale scrambling across to it, but I don't think he'd have got there. 21 minutes then, another effort from City, just wide, and then on to 32 minutes, an opportunity for Crystal Palace, a free kick, and Stanislas going in from the corner, and Edison gets a hand to it and turns it around the post. 36 minutes, Gosling fed Solanke this time, whose effort was blocked on the 6-yard line. So certainly Bournemouth giving it a game, but on 38 minutes they fell for the sucker punch. An assist from David Silva again, and Jesus, with those quick feet, managed to shimmy, danced into a bit of space, took a couple of defenders out of the picture, and then he poked it in the corner, and that was 2-0, and that was half time. Into the second half, A very poor punch from Edison, unlike him really, on 63, and it fell to Gosling, but his effort was on target, but then got deflected away. Bournemouth really got stuck in this second half, and the best chances fell to them. 80 minutes, Brooks fed Callum Wilson, who'd come on. In fact, Brooks had come on as well, and his off effort was inches wide. And then finally, the two involved again. This time, the break by Callum Wilson, and he fed Brooks clear inside the box, and he slotted it into the corner. And so Bournemouth had a lifeline on 87 minutes. They were back to 2-1. And amazingly, a minute from time, a really gilt-edged chance for Callum Wilson, but unfortunately hit it wide. So it's another defeat for Bournemouth, I'm afraid. They are really looking at that trapdoor now, 2 games left. Final score, though, at Etihad was Manchester City 2, Bournemouth 1. Right, so to Burnley against Wolves. Vidra and Goodmanson on the bench for Burnley. Traore was on from the front, usually Dindok on the bench, and he was again. Podence, I've not seen him. He was selected ahead of Doherty, and Johnny was also on the bench. Early chance for Wolves though. Traore finds Jimenez at the far post, but his effort was straight at Pope, so no problem for the Burnley keeper, who's been in great form. Traore was looking menacing, it has to be said. On 12 minutes, a Moutinho corner fizzed across, and it was clipped inches wide by the oncoming attacker, and I can't work out who that was. Oh, Saez, yes, Saez, the defender. 36 minutes, an opportunity for Burnley, a snapshot from Rodriguez that just went over the bar. So it was goalless at the break. 46 minutes, we're on the right, and a whisked cross, unfortunately, from Traore, but there was no takers. It looked like it might have been a shot actually, but it whizzed across so quickly, difficult to really be sure. Another effort from Jimenez on 53 minutes went just over, but that man, that Mexican, he does have a habit of getting into the right positions, and he's pure class. And on 75 minutes, he hit a magnificent volley after some early work by Traore, who ran from his own half, avoided a couple of tackles. Then he fed Doherty, and Doherty's rather ambitious shot ricocheted to Jimenez, and he hit it on the volley, and it went in the corner. It was an absolutely wonderful goal. And so Wolves had gone ahead by a single goal, 1-0. We were deep into injury time now, and Vidra on 93 headed across goal, and Wood was waiting there a couple of yards out, and he managed to hit the header wide. Deitch couldn't believe it on the touchline, and he couldn't believe it even further a couple of minutes later, when another pressing attack by Burnley, and a handball was spotted on a challenge, and it was Doherty, and VAR had a look at it and awarded a penalty. Wood stepped up, and he made amends for his error just a couple of minutes earlier and converted the pen. And so that was the final whistle. Burnley had escaped one here. They were certainly outclassed by Wolves, but they do not give up. Final score at Turf Moor: Burnley 1, Wolves 1. So the last of the fixtures on this Wednesday evening was Arsenal at home to the champions Liverpool. Nelson was selected. Aubameyang having a rest on the bench. Torreira, I've not seen him for a long time. He put Kalasnic on the bench, and Cedric was selected ahead of Bellerin. For Liverpool, no Henderson, but other than that, they were at full strength. And early on, a clearance by Martinez hit Firmino, which went very close, grazed the post in fact, could have been a calamity, but Arsenal got away with it. 19 minutes, and up the other end this time, Firmino fed Robertson, who then managed to put in Mane, and he slotted home comfortably to put Liverpool 1 up. 31 minutes. Now, you don't see these very often. An absolutely a dreadful error by Van Dijk. He tried to set up a colleague, and Lacazette stole the ball, and he managed to quite comfortably round Alisson, and it was 1-1. And then 12 minutes later, amazingly, another defensive blunder here, let in Nelson. Alisson this time, delivering the ball out from his line, and he made a right mess of it, and Nelson was able to put it wide of the keeper, and so at half-time Liverpool were losing by 2-1. The second half was a bit of a damn squib. Liverpool had most of the possession, but couldn't do a lot with it. Salah clipped a shot that was easy for Martinez, and there was half chances, but nothing particularly substantial. And amazingly, Liverpool had lost their third game of the season. It gave it really to Arsenal. Of course, Arteta wasn't that worried about it. He was chuffed to bits. And the final score at the Emirates then was Arsenal 2, Liverpool 1.